And it's Friday night, so why not? Let's bring you a little bit more of inside baseball weather. Hi, everybody. I'm 10 TV Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz, and you've been watching us and seeing us, and maybe you're tired of us, but we continue to be able to drop in on 10 TV Plus to give you some additional information and maybe a little bit of extra context and some details around the forecast that we just might not be able to do during a regular newscast. But we're happy to be here. We encourage you to join us and, of course, ask questions. It's a lot better for everybody if it's more of a dialogue than just me spewing information at you. So there's two ways you can do that easily, and it won't take you more than a couple seconds. One, and you might be watching us on our 10 TV Facebook page. You can just throw a comment in there. No need to direct message, just a comment there. We'll see everything in line. That's great. Or you can use any mobile device, any kind of phone, and simply throw a text message to us at 614-460-3345. Now, the other thing we'll mention tonight, but it might actually play through the weekend and even for the rest of the year, for all I know, is that phone number at the bottom, 614-460-3345. You can also send us pictures, or really short videos, but mainly pictures of what might be happening weather-related where you live. And the reason that's important is because as we get into the next couple of days, tonight and tomorrow morning, again tomorrow night and Sunday morning, and then later Sunday and Monday, there'll be plenty of opportunities for you to share with us what's going on where you live, especially if it's disruptive or impactful weather. So we'll put an asterisk by this whole thing. Do not ever put yourself in danger for a picture or a video. That can wait. But if you can safely do so, we would like to hear from you. And at the end of the day, if you can just send us a text message, that's helpful too. And if you do, make sure you include your name and where you are taking that picture or that video from. So, all right, now let's take a look at the big picture items, the big ticket items, I should say, getting into the weekend. This is the third 10 weather impact alert day we've had this week. We've got two more on Saturday and on Sunday for a little bit of a different reason, but overall, the threat will be that flooding threat through Sunday for just about everywhere. More rain and storms tonight into the wee hours of your Saturday morning. A few stronger storms are possible later Saturday into Saturday night, and that sets the stage for a pretty unsettled Sunday. So really not much in the way of breaks as we're going through the upcoming weekend, and that includes what's happening this evening. The live radar right now is showing a little lull in the rain activity, and that's fine. I was just outside grabbing a quick bite to eat, and it wasn't that bad. It was a little breezy, a little cloudy, but it wasn't raining at the time. But we do see off to the south and west, we're going to zoom in a little bit here, an area of a little cluster of some showers south of Peebles and well south of Chillicothe and Pike County, and then one southwest of Cincinnati, traveling down 71 toward Louisville. So we're going to put that in motion for you and just give it time to run through for a second, giving some perspective and some timing on that. So what we're watching, generally speaking, is an opportunity for a couple thunderstorms this evening, or I should say tonight, really after midnight, and a couple downpours as well. But any of these areas of rain are simply going to make what we're dealing with in terms of flooding much more difficult to deal with. So there will be chances of some showers and storms tonight. In fact, if we can look at a little bit of a future radar for us, we're going to stop it right around midnight tonight. You do see a couple of pockets popping up between 11 o'clock and 12. That moves just south and west of Columbus and then begins to lift north of I-70. You also notice a few other pockets coming in around Piketon, over around Newark and New Lexington. Again, this stops. This is a very short range model. Stops at 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll pick up and carry it through there in a couple of minutes, but that's what we're looking at in the short term. The flooding threat, the chance for a few more showers and some storms tonight, a few more showers and storms tomorrow. Then we really get into the crux of the problem, and that is the flooding. So the flood watch is in effect for everybody in the 10 TV viewing area. That'll be the case as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, and then for Sunday as well. I don't think that's going to be extended much beyond Sunday, because after that, we'll see some additional precipitation. It's just not going to be very heavy, but still carrying that flood watch. We're erring on the side of caution and just relaying what the National Weather Service is putting out. In addition to the flood watch, there are some flood warnings. If you look closely, you'll see that areas around Athens County, around Morgan County, and then a couple of small pockets around Circleville and then south of Waverly. Those two smaller areas are along the Scioto River. Another small area, I believe, around Hocking County near Logan, along the Hocking River. But the areas around southern Morgan County and around Athens, those are countywide or aerial flood watches or flood warnings, excuse me. So be on careful, extra guarded if you are in those areas. And unfortunately, those are the spots that looks like we'll receive the brunt of the rain over the next couple of days. So let's break down the forecast for you through Sunday. Flooding possible. Please be prepared and be diligent. And we said it before, we'll say it again. We can come back on camera for a second just to drive home this important point. We do not want you to ever walk, drive, or ride through water of unknown depth. It only takes 6 to 8 inches to make a car buoyant. And if it's a bigger truck, it's maybe just a little bit more. But the bottom line is you can really put yourself in a bad situation, or maybe your friends or family or loved ones too. Turn around, don't drown. Might sound kind of silly. Very simple, easy to remember. Talked about some other severe weather safety guidelines earlier this week when we were tracking all that severe weather and tornadoes. This evening, we're really looking at, and through the weekend, the possibility of flooding being the main threat, and even some urban flooding, some streets. It doesn't matter if it's something that you might see or travel or walk or ride or drive through often. Do not take a chance. Turn around and don't drown. Just keep that in mind. The other thing we're watching is like, hey, what's this forecast going to be like for your weekend? Will I have time to do something outside? The short answer is yes, but the more detailed answer is a little bit tricky, and that's why we're kind of giving a little bit of inside information tonight on 10 TV Plus. Temperatures tomorrow, start off with that. We're 50s now, and we actually come up to around 60 by morning. We get close to 70 by lunch, but it's one of those days where we don't continue to see the temperatures go up. In fact, slowly but surely they come back down. Now that temperature slide from around 70 tomorrow at noon goes all the way through the 50s, all the way through the 40s, all the way into the 30s by Monday morning. So it's a pretty big temperature drop spaced out over about 24-hour time, and it will be cold enough by the time we get to the end of Sunday, and again maybe Monday night, talk about a little bit of snow. But let's get to this first. This is the rainfall forecast map in addition to what you've already seen. Many locations have seen 1 to 2 inches, especially across the south. So this is additional forecast rainfall just about everywhere, expecting additional inch around areas in Circleville, around Chillicothe, Logan, New Lexington, almost 2 inches of additional rain, and nearly 3 inches expected more rain around Piketon, around MacArthur, and around Jackson. This is not exact. I also just issue that little caveat. This is guidance that we try and follow, but what the guidance has been very consistent in showing, and the trend has been for at least another inch to 1.5 inches. On top of that, some spots will likely get a little bit more. So let's work through that forecast then, showing you who might get what and when, and that will go hour by hour starting later on tonight. So take a brief second while that loads to check out any of your questions in line. Let's see. Severe Weather Center. Thank you, Severe Weather Center, and thank you for the work that you all do too. Andrew Bolt, appreciate that. What is really going to happen this week? We're giving it to you, Calvin. What is really going to happen is it's going to be cold. We might be backing away from the short weather for a couple of days next week, but in between we're looking at those rain showers. The station, Indianapolis, has their hands full. Unfortunately, our sister station, WTHR, has just been really struggling with the severe weather and ongoing threat there. That's a real challenge. Our hearts and our thoughts go out to them. Michael, you're welcome. Anybody has some questions, we'll just keep monitoring these channels. And again, if not, that's not a problem. I can go on and talk for quite a while, as you might have experienced the other day. But if you do have some questions, we're happy to try and answer them in real time. So this is what we're looking at now, the hour-by-hour forecast. It's 8:38. We normally get another full update. We get little iterations or bits and pieces of information all during the day. But the real things that we hang our hat on is the 4 times daily model updates. They happen usually at late evening, early morning, late morning, and mid-afternoon, late afternoon. So the next one we're going to get is going to be after 9:30, 10 o'clock. Meaning, and I mentioned this yesterday too, this is not a shameless self-promotion. Maybe it is for our 11 o'clock news. But if you want to get new information than what we're showing you now, I will have it at 11 o'clock. But this is where we stand right now. And I think the bigger picture is watch how many times rain comes over and over and over. And when we pick up some of those deeper oranges and reds, that's an indication, at least visually, of a possible thunderstorm. So let's start and kind of walk through this, going through about 2:30 in the morning. That gets us right over Mount Gilead, Delaware, Columbus, right down 23. The stronger thunderstorms from these should be to the north, although cannot rule out a gusty thunderstorm from Circleville back down toward Fayette County and then toward Chillicothe. So we're going to advance that further still. It's in, it's out. Sleep in tomorrow morning. Give yourself a little bit of a break because these storms are going to be moving out. However, if you want to get out and do something tomorrow, this might be the best time of the day, mid-morning through the mid-afternoon, and you'll see a general lull, but watch how fast this next area of rain comes back in. That's the case at lunchtime, so if you got to get something done tomorrow, I'm thinking mid to late morning is the best time, maybe a little into the afternoon, but by 4 o'clock, look what's coming. More rain, and this will impact everybody. And once again, we're really focusing on the areas where we see a little bit of that area around Columbus, again to the south around Washington Courthouse, to the north around Mount Gilead and Mount Vernon, is where there's little pockets. This is, again, not a guarantee, but generally speaking, there will be individual pockets of heavier rain, gusty winds and downpours, possibly some stronger thunderstorms. And with these thunderstorms tomorrow, if there are going to be severe limits, once again, the priority would be heavy rain, high winds, hail, and an isolated tornado, although the setup for a tornado is not what it was 36 hours ago. Not zero, but not what it was. So let's take off those circles and move things along. That gets us through 8 o'clock around sunset tomorrow. No better. In fact, some spots it looks a little worse around Zanesville, around Hocking County, Chillicothe, Piketon, and then Athens. But behind this, we'll see the main area of rain, moving to the east. So we'll catch our breath for a second and get to Sunday morning. You think it's all done? It's not. This is just another one of those little lulls or breaks, and watch what happens. I'm going to advance one graphic to show you just a glimpse of what is going to happen, and that these temperatures on Sunday, these are not high temperatures. The high temperatures should occur early in the day. It'll be 45 to 50 degrees. This is the temperature you'll be dealing with on Sunday afternoon. That's 42, Cleveland 39, Lexington 41. We're pretty close to 40 degrees, and guess what, folks? That's close enough to the 30s to be supporting a little bit of snow. Not going to stick. It's not going to be a disruptive Sunday evening or Monday morning, but do not be surprised to see a little bit of snow, some wet snow on some of those daffodils and maybe some of those tulips. So the forsythias bloomed, and I think this would be our second snowflake we've seen, at least in my neighborhood. Maybe we need one more and call it a winter season. All right, so let's pick up. I'm going to move forward rather quickly here. Bear with me to get to Sunday morning. There we go, Sunday morning, 8 o'clock. Church, fine. Golf, it's cart path only. It's going to be really wet if you can get out there, but it's going to be very cold too. Temperatures in the 40s, so I probably would not make that tee time for Sunday. Looking at around 3 o'clock, notice that area begins to come back in. Unfortunately, once again, favoring the southeastern counties, our friends in Chillicothe and Piketon, Logan, Athens, and McConnellsville, just bearing the brunt of this, what will be really a final round of rain on Sunday. But look what happens by 6, 7, 8 o'clock. At the same time this system's exiting, we can come back on camera for a second and we'll make a couple of points about this. The areas just to the north and west of Columbus are going to see a little bit of snow mixing in. Not looking at a ton of snow, we're looking at just enough to maybe, a friendly reminder that Mother Nature is still in charge. And that's something that will obviously catch some people by surprise, but unless you're not a 10 TV Plus viewer, then of course you know what's going on. But if we can come back on camera, Nate, that would be helpful just for a couple of minutes. Thank you very much. And you do see again, this is not a hard shift over to heavy snow. This is just kind of a slow progression of things. As that system slides away, that cooler air is going to wrap back around. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But once again, you heard us talking a lot of times about whether it's a very short-term trend and what a particular thunderstorm is doing, or maybe a longer-term trend and what the models are doing 2 days out. Well, the models have been trending toward colder by Sunday evening and snowier. I'm going to say this, but don't hold me to it. A couple of the models were putting out a couple of inches of snow later on Sunday. That's not going to happen. Okay, it's just not, the ground's too warm, it's going to be wet, and this is going to move through pretty quickly. But just to drive home the point that do not be shocked later on Sunday and Sunday evening to see a little bit of snow as that system slides on through. So that kind of gets us through the weekend. So if we're looking at the tail end of the weekend, cold, blustery, Monday, not bad. Not a picnic either, but not bad. And we're going to see the coldest day of the bunch is actually going to be on Tuesday behind this system. One more reinforcing shot of cold air, and then we're going to see things settle down and kind of get back into a spring-like pattern by the middle and end of next week. But just want to kind of walk you through what we're watching as we go through Sunday night, and then this whole mess moves out of here. hopefully we'll begin to dry out for the most part for a couple of days early next week. So I'm going to put the radar back on and keep that running for a second. You can just keep me on camera here, and that'll be cool. And we will look at some of those questions you've got coming in. I'm not seeing any on that phone number, so I apologize. I might be experiencing technical difficulty. Please stand by if I don't answer those texts quickly, but we encourage you to send them in and keep that number handy. Put it in your cell phone as 10TV Plus text line, something that's familiar to you, so you can pull it up, snap a picture, make a comment, and send it to us. That would be very easy to do rather than remember this number because it's burned into my brain, but probably not yours. Take it down, 614-460-3345. It will come in handy for both of us, all of us, as we go through the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, and really next couple of seasons. So that'll be something we're really looking forward to. All right, take a look at some of the questions that are coming back in, or comments. Remember, Facebook page, we're streaming live, 10TV Plus. Let's go back and take a look. All right, Brandy Lynn, I will take snow over this. Yes, I concur. Just a little bit would be fine. Kelly Gates, how much for Buckeye Lake, any strong storms? Kelly, I assume you're talking about rain, not snow. Snow will not be measurable. Rain will be, unfortunately. So take a look at our map. We've been looking at the rainfall accumulation. Any more strong storms? I'll get to that question next. But in terms of the rainfall potential, give me a second. I got a lot of content in here just to be prepared for the show this evening. Rainfall amounts, this is on top of what you've already received. So if we're looking at areas around Buckeye Lake, that would be just drawing right around here. So you can see that's in between Columbus, Newark, and Lancaster. Columbus 1.4, Lancaster 1.3, Newark 1.1. So I would feel pretty confident that between now and Sunday, Buckeye Lake area is going to see at least 1 inch of rain, probably a little bit more. But again, I wouldn't make your decision solely on what I'm showing you right now. It could easily go 1.5 to 2 inches, or it could be a half inch, although I think, if anything, it would trend toward being a higher amount. But you look at this, anywhere that's blue, that's over 1 inch. Purple is 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And some of those areas that are getting red are obviously a little more than 2 inches. Let's see a couple more questions. Oh, the thunderstorm question. Thanks for reminding myself. The thunderstorm threat. So we are going to be tomorrow a level 2 out of 5 in that thunderstorm category. And we've talked about that quite a bit. And it's just one of those things where we look at painting with a bit of a broad brush as we're looking at those scenarios in severe weather. So I'm going to show you kind of a big picture item, and then we'll dive in for a couple of minutes just for a couple of those details. This is the severe weather outlook for Friday into Saturday. And again, just clips the southern and western corners of the state. So that's something that we're going to be watching closely. I'm very confident in saying that it's not the scale or the scope or the intensity of what some of us had both Wednesday afternoon and evening and Thursday morning and noon, but it's not something that we're going to dismiss. So we're going to watch that. Some areas, especially in the southern parts of the viewing area, again, Circleville, Chillicothe, Waverly, unfortunately Washington Courthouse, that would be for probably the 4th time in 7 days, talking about the possibility of strong storms for Fayette County, favoring the south. So the chance is not 0 everywhere else, but it's a little greater to the south and west. And just to reiterate again, these the thunderstorm threats and priority number 1, or the threats level, the concern I should say, would be 1 would be heavy rain, 2 would be high winds, 3 would be hail, and then the last but not least would be tornadoes. Again, indications are not looking favorable for that atmospheric setup and those ingredients that come together. And maybe we'll get more into that as we go through the day tomorrow and then beyond. But that's what it's mainly looking like, the possibility of, unfortunately, heavy rain and some gusty and possibly damaging winds. So I'm going to check the question box real quick one more time, or mailbox, I should say. There won't be sound until it's 8:30. Yes, Amanda, you're right. So one thing you'll notice, and we're not trying to bait people into watching, but it takes a couple of minutes for us to kind of get our act together here. I wish I could see Keith Urban. I've seen him at the Shoe. It was fantastic. So hopefully, Gloria, he'll be coming back sometime soon. I digress, though. I need strong storms for tonight. There'll be a possibility of some strong thunderstorms between 2 o'clock and about 7 o'clock a.m. Not expecting severe. So some thunder, lightning, downpours, maybe some small hail. We'll be watching and monitoring the situation and update you if need be, but the threat is very, very low. Okay, so keep that in mind, please. And Kathy in Delaware, specific to your question, I'll run through that one more time before we break. Forsythia's blooming late. We want it to bloom early so we can get these 3 snows out of the way. It takes one more minute. I'm going to walk through the latest model guidance for us. Not gospel, but guidance. So we're going to give me a second to get to that. And then we're going to sign off here. We've got a new episode of Boomtown coming up tonight at 9 o'clock on 10 TV Plus. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to check it out. As you know, even if you've been here for a couple of weeks or months or years, Central Ohio has grown like crazy. So the population has grown like crazy. So our focus is on the Central Ohio booming. So Boomtown at 9 o'clock. Quick look here at the models. We were specifically focusing Kathy in Delaware. We're going to rock through this. See that little shower popping through there? That's around midnight tonight. Maybe a gusty little storm, but again, not anything expected to be severe. Then going through the next couple of hours, this only goes out till about 2 a.m., this particular model. So it looks like a pocket of some stronger storms, New Lexington, Logan, MacArthur, 1:30, but then the rest of the storms are off toward the west, and they'll be moving in here closer to sunrise in the morning, and I expect them to weaken as they do. So that is some good news. So we're going to wrap it up. Oh no, so we get 2 more snows, Stephanie. I'm not saying that. It's a wives' tale or a weather folklore, but we are at least going to get the chance of seeing 1 more. So normally, as it goes, 3 snows after the Forsythia blooms. Some places have already seen 2, or at least 1, so Sunday would be the 2nd, and hopefully the 3rd comes maybe Monday night, and then we'll be done as we get closer to spring. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on 10 TV Plus, on the 10 TV Facebook page, and on YouTube. We love to have your questions, so keep that number handy. Put it in your phone, so next time we do one of these, you can just text in real quick with a comment, a question, or even a picture. And you can always add comments, too, on the Facebook page. So thank you. Again, Boomtown is coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll more than likely have these updates during the course of the weekends with Mike Joyce Saturday and Sunday morning, and meteorologist Michael Behrens on Saturday and Sunday afternoon and evening. Until then, I'm 10 TV Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and thanks again for joining us this evening. So before we start talking a bit about thunderstorms, it kind of helps to know how they form. Now, average thunderstorms can form in a bunch of different environments, but in order to get strong or severe thunderstorms, you need 4 things. If you're missing any one of those ingredients, again, you might have an average garden-variety thunderstorm, but you're not going to get severe weather. In order for any thunderstorm to form, you're going to need an initial push, lift. Oftentimes, a cold front or a warm front or a center of low pressure kind of gives that initial push or that oomph. Then you need to have moisture. If you don't have moisture, you're not going to get a stronger severe thunderstorm. Oftentimes, that moisture comes in on warm southerly winds. You can feel that humidity. That's kind of the fuel for the storms. Then, in order to get that storm going, you need unstable air. Oftentimes, that's cold air aloft compared to that warm air on the bottom. Just like in your house or where you live, that cold air won't sink, the warm air will rise. That is called instability. Finally, you need wind shear, one or both kinds of wind shear. Speed shear is where you have two cars on a highway, for example, one going faster than the other. Another is directional shear, where the wind is going different directions at different levels. Any one or both of those kinds of shear will promote the thunderstorm to maintain itself and actually not collapse. Those four ingredients are what forms strong to severe storms. Now, what do we mean by a severe thunderstorm? Any one or unfortunately all three of these can happen. Hail greater than 1 inch in diameter, wind gusts over 58 miles an hour, and or a tornado. And oftentimes, as we experienced last year quite a bit, you can have 2 or 3 of these things happening at once. Now, breaking down a watch or a warning, it's important to remember these things. The differences are simple but very important. When the National Weather Service issues a severe thunderstorm, a tornado, or a flash flood watch, that means watch out. Conditions are favorable for development of one of those things. When a warning is issued, that means that it's occurring. Take action. Seek shelter in an interior room, have your plan and ready to enact your plan, and stay away from windows. One other thing to keep in mind during the storm, stay inside until the warning ends, stay away from those doors and windows. Most importantly, stay tuned and stay connected. Yes, TV is a great way to stay connected. You can also stream, download the 10TV mobile app, many different ways to stay connected and stay on top of the storm.